It's a great day for our university through the Aquaculture and Fisheries Department to showcase some of what they do, particularly in the areas of teaching and research and extension. I love these days because they give us an opportunity to showcase, but it also illustrates to the people of the state of Arkansas how this university is fulfilling its mission of teaching, research, service, and extension, and how it has brought forth and continues to extend the land grant mission that it was given when it became a part of the land grant universities in 1890. So on this day, it is as much a celebration of all that is the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and of one of its most significant programs and the achievements that have been made over the years. So my congratulations and kudos to Dr. Lachman and the folks in your unit who have worked so diligently to put together this great day and this occasion for our stakeholders and for all of the people of the community and of the state of Arkansas. Thank you. Let's give Dr. Lachman and her department around the world. So I hope you have a wonderful, enjoy the day, and take a look at all the wonderful things that we have to offer, and have fun. Thank you.
So welcome to all of you to our field day at UAPB, and I'm Amit Sinha. I'm working as an assistant professor here at UAPB, and my specialization is the water quality monitoring. So today I'm going to give a brief kind of demonstration regarding how to efficiently control the algal bloom in your fish pond. All right, so you can see we have like plenty of fish pond, and I have been working in many of those fish pond, and most of the time we have a big problem of having the algal bloom. So my demonstration would be something more like an interactive one. So I would like to know from you guys, what do you mean by algal bloom? Anyone? Yes, sir. You are giving
phytoplankton in the water column.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So basically, algal bloom is the overproduction of any phytoplankton or any algae that can produce in a fish pond. All right, and let me get some pictures for you guys to explain. So when you have the algae bloom, you can see how your pond might look like. It's totally bad, full of green color, no one will like it, and there are a lot of adverse effect, a lot of bad effect. So anyone, what could be the bad effect of having the algal bloom in your pond?
The oxygen.
Perfect, thank you so much. So if you have a lot of algal bloom, the oxygen level will go down because of a lot of decomposition. What else?
Off flavor.
Perfect, sir. Mike praise, great. So for the fish farmer down here is, if they have a lot of algal bloom, when you grow the fish will start to develop a very bad flavor. And when you eat those fish, you will feel like eating the mud. So definitely you don't want your fish to develop that special bad flavor. So making all those things briefly, we definitely need to control the algal bloom, right? So that your ponds look good, your fish don't get any off flavor. So there have been a lot of different methods trying to kill those algal bloom, and there have been a lot of different chemical methods or some other methods like something like they say you go and clean your water, but imagine if you have such a big pond, how you are going to change the water in one day? That's impossible, right? Or someone say like, okay, do a lot of aeration. You put aeration, but then electricity bill goes high in overnight. You are kind of bankrupt in one night. So it's very important that you come up, or we come up with a very efficient method of killing all the algal bloom in just one night, right? Or in a short period of time. So we have developed, or not me, but a company called Cipro. They have developed a product called Pack 27. You can see down there. I have the pack, I have the boxes, and this Pack 27 act like as an algaecide, meaning that it can kill your algae. So I will bring it some sample for you guys to have a look. So this pack 27 contain a very important chemical that is called hydrogen peroxide, right? And we know, like, even we get sick or we have problem in our ear or something like that, even in our teeth, we use hydrogen peroxide to clean. But this guy is not going to clean your teeth, but it's going to clean your fish pond. So this has an active compound called hydrogen peroxide. So what we do basically is that we take this product, dissolve in some water and throw in the pond where you have the algae bloom, right? And after that, you can see in this picture, after 2 or 3 days, your pond become little clear. And it's going to solve your problem. And then when you wait little longer, you see how good can be your pond, totally clean, right? So the main problem for us in our university was to understand how much is the dose that need to be used in the pond. And that was a kind of a question for our research. So we did like kind of a trial experiment, try to understand where should we start with. So we got some reference and they say, okay, you can have 10 milligram per liter, someone say 50 milligram per liter, someone say even more. So we try to optimize the dose and we selected first 2 doses, that is 10 milligram per liter as well as 15 milligram per liter pack 27. And we selected few of our pond, we grow the algae bloom by ourselves so that the pond looks bad. And then we kind of throw those pack 27 in the ponds where we have the algae bloom, and you will not believe the result was so nice. So when we have a high dose, that was 15 milligram per liter, within like 1 week, the pond become very clear. When we have a small dose, it had the same effect, but it took little longer. But still at the end, we have the same result. So once we have the algal bloom, we wanted to understand what were the different plankton that was present in the water. So what we found in our pond is a special kind of plankton. So we try to see at the beginning as well as after 10 days whether the population goes down, and we found a pretty much reduction in the pond. And another big problem of having algal bloom in your pond is something more serious. Anyone? Apart from oxygen, apart from off flavor? Perfect. Those algae produce toxins, meaning that they can kill not only the fish but also a lot of other organisms. So we not only want to kill the microorganism of this algae organism, but also we have to destroy the toxin. And the beauty of this product was when we applied in the pond, the toxin level was reduced really from a very high level to almost undetectable level, meaning that these products are not only efficient in controlling the algae bloom, but they can also control or can destroy the toxins. Okay, and now each product have their own benefit, but let's try to understand a little bit how much is the cost. Okay, any guess for 10 pound box? Make a guess. No, it's too high. I gave a hint. Anyone, please, just give a guess.
$75.
How much?
75.
Almost there, $60. So you can see like one box cost around $60. And with one box, you can actually control the algae bloom for a long period of time. So meaning that you are just spending $60, you are getting a whole box, you throw the whole box in your 0.1 acre pond, and you are able to suppress the algae bloom for a certain period of time. And that was the next question for us, how long? Okay, because when you use a product, it has a shelf life, it can control for certain limit. So we try to do experiment really long to understand, like, okay, let's see how long the algae can be killed by this. So we keep on, once we added those pack 27, we waited for 1 week, it was still good, 2 weeks still good, 3 weeks still good, 4 weeks perfect, 5 weeks still good. After 6 weeks, the algae bloom start to come back. And then we thought, okay, this product is good up to 5 to 6 weeks, meaning that after 6 weeks, you again need to reapply. And that's an important message to the farmer, like, look, this product will not solve it permanently, but you definitely need to add more and more after 5 to 6 weeks, meaning that it needs a regular interval applications. Okay, so money-wise, it's pretty good. It can kill the toxin. And then now a new regulation has come. When you use a chemical, it has to be eco-friendly. We always go to the supermarket, eco-friendly, eco-friendly, eco-friendly. Is it an eco-friendly product? Anyone? Yes, sir, you are. And why it's eco-friendly?
Oxygen and water.
Very good. So perfect. So what it's doing is when you throw this product, it destroys or it leaches out or it breaks itself into the water and it releases the hydrogen peroxide. Long time back, people buy the hydrogen peroxide in a canister, in a big can, and when they transport, it's not eco-friendly because then you are throwing the hydrogen peroxide as a liquid into the water. But this, guys, when you put into the water, you can see it's a dry, granulated form. You have touched it. And then it degrades by itself, it releases the hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide has a very short shelf life, meaning that it will disappear by itself within just 3 to 4 days. So it's an eco-friendly product too. So if you have a problem in your pond related to the algal bloom, you know what to apply. What to apply?
Pack 27.
Here we go, pack 27. So if by chance we can have a product that can combine with especially the phosphorus, it can reduce the chances of having the algal bloom in the future. So the Cipro, a great company, I like that company, I love that company. They make another product called Phoslock. And you can see here, give me a moment, I'm almost about to finish. So they have made a clay, it's called Phoslock clay. What it does, when you put into the water, it combines with the phosphorus in the water, and it will not let your plankton to utilize those phosphorus. So definitely when they don't get food, what they will do, they have to die. So this Phoslock is a very efficient way of reducing the nutrients so that your plankton will not grow. But this takes a little longer rather than compared to the pack 27 because this is a chemical that kills them. This is the chemical that takes away their food. So what we are trying to do now is combining these two products at one time and try to see whether the efficient can go longer or the effect can have longer than like 3 months or 4 months. And that is current research combining these two different kind of products.
Hello, my name is Kayla McCoy and I will be talking to you guys about the winter fish loss in Charkids. And what they did was, over the winter of 2013, they stocked in the fish, and then they found the farmers, when they went to collect the fish, they found that the fish disappeared. So they were trying to account for that. So what happened is, what they wanted to do is get several different fish species. So they tried native bluegill, hybrid crappie, hybrid bluegill, and red ear. And they fed them either once a week, twice a week, or once a month. And what they found is that the fish did not die. They had pretty good survival, from 88.9%, give or take, to upwards of 100% survival. Woo woo. And what they found was that the hybrid bluegill actually lost 12% of their body weight, and plus or minus. And the red ear actually lost the most, up to 36% of their body weight. But they had good survival, they were just skinny, so I would like to see the study done again. This time have a control, don't feed them at all, and see how that compares to the once a week, twice a week, and once a month. And then also have the parent species of the hybrid bluegill. So we have the native bluegill, but let's also try it with green sunfish and see how we do. They also did this with fathead minnows, and they actually showed that if they feed fathead minnows twice a week, that they will actually have a growth of 3%. So the rest of these, they're still losing weight, but the fathead minnows, they're actually gaining some weight. So that's awesome. And we will like to try this again. Thank you.
Lachman. I teach fish management and fish ecology here at the Aquaculture Fisheries Center, and I'm going to talk with you today about radiotelemetry, which is a tool we use to figure out how, when, and where fish move. Now that turns out to be really important, as I'm sure Steve knows, because information like that can be used to wisely manage a resource. Let's say, for example, that I told you there was a 10-pound largemouth bass in that pond right there, and you can fish for it. Your first question would be, well, should I fish at that end of the pond or at this end of the pond? Because I want to catch that fish, and I got to throw my line where the fish is. And I would say, I don't know, because I can't see the fish in the pond. How many people have played Marco Polo? This is a kid's game that you play in a pool, okay? And one kid is it, and he closes his eyes, and he yells, Marco! And all the other kids that are playing the game yell back, Polo! Polo! Okay? What if I could get a fish to yell polo back to me so I could figure out where they were. Well, with one of these, I can make the fish yell polo back to me all day. This is a radio transmitter. So inside this little housing is a battery and a radio transmitter, and of course everybody knows that radio stations have antenna, and so I have an antenna like this. Jessica, can you get me that fish, please? So I use this radio antenna. Now, if I could get the fish to swim around like this, holding it up, this would be really, really good. But fish don't cooperate like that. So what I have to do is, I have to implant this transmitter inside the fish surgically. I actually have to put the fish to sleep, cut it open, slide the transmitter in, sew it up, and wake the fish up. So the fish can swim around with this part hanging outside of it and this part tucked inside the fish. This is an example of what that fish looks like. So the transmitter's inside there, and the antenna sticks out, and all day long, 30 times a minute, that fish is going polo, polo. Now, we use a radio receiver to hear that fish. The tall pole there is what we call an omnidirectional receiver. So basically, it's like an antenna on the hood of your car that picks up the signal from any direction. When you hear that fish and you think you're close to it, you want to switch to what we call a Yagi, Y-A-G-I, Yagi antenna, which is directional. That's what Jeremiah's got right there, okay? And the Yagi antenna picks up the signal stronger when the antenna is pointing in the direction that the fish is calling out polo, polo to you. I need a volunteer. What we're going to do, I have hidden one of these somewhere on the station, okay? Jeremiah is going to help you. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do this before you change tables. I want you to hear what it sounds like when this is on. So we're listening to this one. This little magnet is the on-off switch, okay? 30 times a minute, we're going to hear that sound when the receiver and the transmitter are close enough, okay? Now switch tables. Jeff is going to see, he's going to try his hand at figuring out what direction the transmitter I hid is in. And so what he's got to do is he's got to listen for that sound while he's pointing the antenna in different directions. Because when Jeremiah and Jessica are out in the boat, in order to figure out where the fish is, they've got to get on top of the fish, at which point, no matter where you turn that Yagi antenna, the volume is equally loud. And that's when you know your boat is right over the fish. But the first thing you got to do is switch from the omnidirectional antenna to the unidirectional. Is he checking out which direction? You got to listen for the volume of that sound. We're gonna find out whether he decides it's in the right direction, because if not, he's going to send his driver all over the lake, not being able to find that fish. Now, we use this for any number of different kinds of projects to catch a variety of information. One of the things we did was the Game and Fish Commission had a vegetation problem down in Felsenthal, and they wanted to control it with grass carp. But Felsenthal is an open system, so the Ouachita goes downstream, the Ouachita goes upstream, and the Saline goes upstream. For all we know, throwing a bunch of grass carp in there, they'll go to hell and gone. They won't stay there. But we put transmitters inside fish and found that 75% of the fish of the grass carp that we put in Felsenthal stayed in Felsenthal at least a year. And at that point, I believe we had some help from Mike, and we stocked a bunch of grass carp and controlled the vegetation in Felsenthal. A couple of years ago, we were working with alligator gar, and we wanted to know where the gar go to spawn. So we put transmitters in them before the spawning season and then listened to see where they go in the spring, and we were able to identify some spawning locations for alligator gar. At the moment, we've got a project over on Lake DeGray looking at largemouth bass and hybrid striped bass to see if they're feeding in the same place at the same time. there's a lot of black bass anglers that feel that's true and would like to get rid of the hybrids, and we're trying to figure out whether or not that's the case. We've also got a project looking at northern snakehead out in Brinkley, and this is an invasive species, and we're trying to figure out when and where they move. Do they choose upstream, downstream, that kind of thing. So we're using this to answer a variety of questions. And what's your decision?
I can't hear. It's somewhere in this general vicinity.
That is correct. Jeremiah, tell them where it is.
So, look around the Portagon. There's a fence post out there. Yeah. It's on top of
You see that wooden fence post out there at the edge of Pond 40? It's sitting on top of that. Now, what that means is there's a little bit of art in listening. You have to train your ear to listen for the distinct differences between I'm not pointing that Yagi at it and I am pointing that Yagi at it. And fortunately, we've got some graduate students and technicians that are very good at this. Being half deaf, I probably would not be very good at this. I think the older you get and the more deaf you get, the less good you are in the boat helping them. Okay, so are there any questions? Because the one thing I want to leave you with is UAPB plays Marco Polo with fish using radio telemetry. But what they're really doing is they're putting information on the table that helps the Game and Fish Commission wisely manage your resources.
Normally, copper sulfate comes in two ways, either granulated or liquid version. The granulated goes into the water and it'll stay in the water for a good amount of time and then it'll settle out. You can see the copper settling out here in the bottom as it attaches to ions in the water. The liquid version, it's a higher concentration. You can tell by this blue color here. The thing about the liquid version is you have to be very careful because it's around 29% copper, and if you use too much of it, you can actually kill your fish. So you have to be careful with temperature, alkalinity. With this version of copper sulfate, you can use lower doses. It actually flocculates with algae in the water. With some, it actually stays in the water until it attaches to another object in the water, and it'll flocculate it down to the bottom. You can actually use lower doses. This one's only at about a 20% concentration, and so you don't have to worry as much about killing your fish by overdosing with copper sulfate. I'm in no way endorsing any of these products. I'm just telling you the facts of how they work. Thank you.
This is the drone stop, so I hope you will learn a couple of things here today on things that we've been doing with our drones. I've got 3 different ones here. My favorite is this little DJI Phantom. This one has a camera incorporated into it, so
already in here.
Yeah, the nice thing about it is that we can take pictures of ponds. So we're going to be doing some stuff with trying to figure out what's a good algae bloom and what's a bad algae bloom, and can you fly it over that and determine whether or not you need to treat that or not. This one is also really, really good at scaring birds up off of the ponds, and it is so easy to fly, because it is a quadcopter. And if you get one of these, I highly recommend that you get a quadcopter because anybody can fly it. You know, from the kids that play the video games to us older folks who don't play video games.
Can you put a gun on it?
Yes, that's one of the things we're looking to do next.
What about in rice fields?
Yes, they're using it in rice fields and agriculture too, to look for spots that may have stress in them and things like that. One of the nice things that we did is we've been talking to the people over at ARS in Stoneville because they're doing a lot of this with the agriculture crops. And to be able to tell a good algae from a bad algae, you have to be able to look at the wavelength that the plant gives off. And so they've now come out with filters that we can put on these things, and we haven't tried them out yet, but that's going to be our next thing, is to be able to take pictures and then say, okay, this is a good algae, this is a bad algae, so if we get this reflection, we know, oh, this is a blue-green, you know, we might need to go out and take care of it, or we're getting an awful lot of too much of an algae bloom on our pond, and we might have to cut it back a little bit. So that's one of the things that we're doing. This second one here is another quadcopter, which is also very easy to fly. I like this one because it's got the bird calls on it. So it does a falcon, a hawk, an eagle, and I think an osprey. So as you're flying over the ponds, it'll do this and actually take them up as well. We have the ability to add a we have the ability to okay. We have the ability to add a camera to that one too as well, and as you can see, it's a little bit bigger. Now the DJI one that we have right here, this small one, probably 95% of the time I put this one up any height, I start to get some big birds that will start to circle it. It doesn't mean they're going to take it out, but they just want to see what it is. But there have been instances where hawks and eagles have actually taken them down. They'll come and just grab a hold of them and they'll go down. The third one I have here is a rather new one, and I'll let people pass this one around. This is actually an underwater drone. Now, one of the things we're trying to do with this, particularly in aquaculture ponds, is put it in there to see where the fish are kind of hanging out, and to see if, okay, do they act differently when there's a low DO? I mean, you know, you can see them on the surface, but do they crowd in a certain area? Those kinds of things. The only problem with this one is if you have a really muddy pond like the one that's right there, you can see the really muddy pond and that's about it. So it'll have to probably be done on ponds that are a little bit clearer or not. But the nice thing about this is it can be used in fisheries as well. Particularly in some of the clear lakes that we have, they can go down and look at different habitat and stuff that's underneath the water. This particular drone is tethered, so there is a 750-foot cord that goes with this, and will actually, you can maneuver it quite easily.
So your tournament fishermen are going to love that.
Yes, it also has
That'd be illegal, wouldn't it?
Well, no. They actually have a little spot right here that they can put a fish finder on too. And it's also a depth measure, so it'll measure how deep the pond is and where the fish are. Of course, when you want the birds to be around, they're never around. But I'm going to go ahead and fly the little DJI one. If somebody, the little one is $1,500. Okay. The problem with this one is if you damage it in any way, you have to send it back to the manufacturer. The next one is a Pro Hawk. This one is about $5,000, but I can replace the parts on it because it's just that really heavy, similar to Kevlar type material that you can buy anywhere on the internet, and you can replace the body portions of that. The underwater drone is another one you'd have to send back in again if it was damaged.
Has anybody tried putting a laser on one of them?
No, that would be a really good idea, and I think we could do it to either the little one or the bigger one.
Like one of these pointers. I mean.
Now, the one thing you do have to have, if you fly it, is a drone pilot's license. These things are really not that hard to get. Basically, there's one booklet that you have to study, and you go to, I went to Little Rock, to one of the little airports there, and took the test, and you know, if you score 70 or above, they give you the pilot's license, and it's good for 5 years, and then you just have to go take the exam again. The other thing too is, I was quite surprised when I started looking at areas around here, but there's an app called Before You Fly, and you can kind of pass this around. And what it is it shows you a map of where you're at, and it shows you where the nearest airports are. So in order for us to fly today, we are within the zone of JMRC. So I had to call JMRC today and say, hey, we're going to be doing this field day. I want to fly a drone. We're only going to be below 400 feet, and get permission from them to be able to fly it. And you know, most of the time they'll say yes. But there's a lot of helicopter ports around here, and all the helicopter ports will show up on that map. And so you have to get permission in order to be able to fly them. If for some reason an FAA investigator or somebody should show up and you don't have that permission, they will fine you for that. So With that said,
what about the crop dusting?
the crop dusting, the same thing. But again, because a lot of that is really low, and you have to call all the crop dusters that are in the area. Again, all of those airports you have to be cleared before you can fly. And you can usually see when the planes are coming. It's pretty easy to bring it down, but there have been times that, you know, you get gliders and stuff coming in, you don't really hear them. So you have to be careful of that as well.
If you buy the $1,500 rig, is it good to go?
It's good to go.
Or you've got to go get something else put on?
Nope, it's good to go. You can get them outfitted from there with the speaker on it, and you can also get the GoPro camera on there if you want. And the GoPro is just the small camera that's similar to the smaller
So
one.
that's $1,500 for the whole rig, or?
$1,500 for the white one, $5,000 for the black one. Okay. With that said, can I have somebody hold this and we'll go ahead and take one out.
Take off.
You can turn the camera so that it's facing any way that you want to. It's got a pretty, pass that around. It's got a pretty nice little screen on it.
So that video in there, you go back and play it on?
You can video it or you can take still pictures.
Oh.
Either one.
Fly it over there where they're doing the trap shoot.
Extra.
They're about $200 a battery. Yeah. But they last a good long time.
How long does the charge on?
The charge, it takes about 2 hours to charge them.
I've got one of the old ones, but it's got like 4 different controls I have
to use.
Yeah, it's very difficult sometimes.
So if it starts raining, you need to bring it in and get it out of the rain.
Yeah.
Thank you. This demonstration is called Wading on the Winds, the evolution of split ponds. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the split ponds, but basically they consisted of 2 basins. One is where we have the fish concentrated, and the second one is a wastewater treatment area. So this is kind of the traditional way of that the split pond works. Oops, sorry. So basically, the fish are, as I said, are in the basin fish area. They are concentrated in this. We are stocking 12,000 fish per acre. And we just started evaluating this setup with this new one, where we included a set of wings to increase the retention time in the wastewater treatment area. So we stocked this fish in April. It's a project that is in development. And for the first 110 days, we are noticing that there were some significant differences in the ammonia levels and the nitrate levels between the ponds that have the wings and those that don't have it. Basically, we are taking samples twice a week, and we also have some monitors here in the fish basin and other in the wastewater treatment area. The parameters that we are evaluating right now are the salt oxygen, temperature, pH, ammonia, and nitrites, as well as alkalinity and hardness. And as I said, we already noticed some differences during the first 110 days. Now, you may notice that some of those are not working, and it's basically during the last couple of weeks we have had some problems with the motors. We are trying to solve those issues, but in the meantime, we have to turn on the aerators because of the high densities that we handle.
Yes, we have been able to develop some new catfish products using our NIFA-funded project. This project is implemented by UAPB in collaboration with this USDA ARS Food Quality Processing Lab in New Orleans and this Texas State University. We have developed convenient and healthy catfish products. Convenient meaning these are ready to cook products. So 2 products can be eaten after microwaving for 5 to 6 minutes. These are sriracha marinated delicata catfish and this sesame ginger marinated delicata catfish. 3 other products can be eaten after this 30 minutes of baking. These are this panko breaded standard catfish strips and this panko breaded standard catfish fillet and this panko breaded delicata catfish fillet. This panko breaded gives this crispiness and those delicata gives this premium quality processed one. So this would be giving you the crispiness, juiciness and those other taste which you can eat from this catfish fry, but at a less convenient time. Those products have been seasoned for 19 to 20 hours, so it will be really reducing your cooking time and this processing time. We hope that in future the American catfish consumers would be able to benefit from those new products which we have been able to develop. Thank you very much.
Anyway, if we start comparing the units, the intensive aeration ponds are smaller. You're looking at about 4.2 acres for ours, up to about 5.8, the biggest one. Split ponds, pretty much made from existing ponds that were on farms, pretty much range from 6 to 14 acres. You have about 1 to 3 acres where the fish are actually stocked, where there's actually division, and that's where the fish are grown. The other side is nothing more than water treatment, and in the fact that water just goes through there in the daytime with photosynthesis occurring, producing oxygen that is moved to the other side of the pond by a pump of some kind or a paddle wheel or such. With the intensive aeration, no water movement is needed. With the split ponds, you're going to need about a minimum of 7,000, and if it's double that, it's wonderful. I don't know many people that have the 14,000, but it works much better if you get that number up close to 15,000. We stock about 8 to 12,000 head per acre in both of these type units. Preferable size, we've had them as small as about 6.5 inches. You're better off to go about 8 inches, and this is all hybrids. This is a hybrid channel where you take the female channel catfish and cross it with the male blue catfish. So that's the ideal one. It grows fast, has some hybrid vigor, some of those characteristics. Anyway, about 150 pounds per 1,000 fish, that's going to be about 8 inches or 8.2 inches or such. Grows out, pretty much get that fish grown in 6 or 8 months in the growing season. Stocking rate's the same in these. The split pond, our feed conversion average is about the same, about 2.3. Now, I think there's room for improvement there, but you start looking at having a split pond where you stock 14 acres with about 8,000 per acre, you got a lot of fish. So when you get those fish up to mature size, you may have as many as 250, 280,000 pounds of fish in 2 or 3 acres. So you start feeding, and you're going to be feeding 10, maybe 15 minutes. So you know, you overfeed 1 minute and you've lost something there. So I think a little bit more judicious on the feeding. We can actually get that number a little bit lower. But at 2.3, we are much better than we're using the old standard system. Our old standard system, we would stock 5-inch fish, get them up to about harvest size, and then before harvest understock another batch of 5-inch fish. And you may have 3 or 4 batches of fish, and our feed conversion was off the scale. We're looking at worse than 3. Our inventory numbers were not kept. All of these are pretty much a 1-year grow out, or you know, one crop grow out and then restock, which is good. You can keep your inventory numbers better that way. The biggest problem we're seeing right now is the oxygen problems at harvest. You've got, let's say, 10,000 fish in 4 acres. That's 40,000 fish that are averaging 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds. You know, you're looking at 100,000 pounds of fish. You pull a seine in a 4-acre pond, you got 100,000 pounds of fish. They're going to use a lot of oxygen. It's even worse when you got a bigger pond. You got 14, let's say you got 280, 300,000 pounds, and suddenly you've got a major oxygen problem. So that's the problem we run into with this. And as far as which is the best method, one of them's an A, one of them's a B+, but I would say probably just because of this reason here, the oxygen problems, that the intensive aerations are probably a little bit better from that standpoint. Now, with any kind of thing such as this, you've got to have backup units. You're not going to do this without backup units as far as when the power goes off, because as you know, y'all farm fish, it will go off. And the other thing is these things are monitored automatically. This is computer monitored. You've got a system out in the pond that will record your temperature and your oxygen maybe every 5 minutes or maybe more often than that. And that you keep your computer in your bedroom at home or in your office, you can know exactly what's going on at all time. So that improves the situation versus the old ponds. But these are good units. We've adapted this technology well, and we're growing a lot of fish. The problem we ran into in this past year, I don't have 2017 data because I finally got all of it yesterday, is that over the winter, the catfish processing plants owns a lot of their own acreage. They sold their own fish or marketed their own fish over the winter. Our guys were sitting on fish over the winter, and we finally moved that glut of fish out where we can start restocking. So that's kind of hurt us a little bit there, but next year we'll be more aware of that and hopefully can take advantage of getting a little bit better price and such.
We're going to get our show started, our luncheon started with Mr. John the Farmer. He's going to come up and give us our invitation and get our program started.
Pray with me, please. Thank you, Lord God, for being our Heavenly Father, Lord. We thank you for the many blessings you've given each one of us and given this industry over the years, Lord. At this time, we be with the Stevens family as they lost a loved one. Be with him and his family and friends during this time, God. Thank you for this beautiful day, Lord. Thank you for the opportunity to gather together as an industry and friends and fellowship and learn, God. Again, thank you for many blessings. We ask for safe travels as we head home. Bless this food and nourishment of our bodies and the forgiveness of our souls. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? I hate to interrupt this wonderful lunch that we're having. And it is delicious. Let me just say my compliments to the chef and the catering organization and everybody who had a hand in cooking it. Let me just say, my name is Lawrence Alexander, and I'm the Chancellor at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Thank you. Let me just say, this is a great day. This is a great day in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and a great day here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It's great because we are here, and we're here together. We're here together, and we're eating together and enjoying each other. We're talking about a combination of faculty, staff, students, alumni, stakeholders, farmers, friends, and well-wishers. It's a great gathering here for the purpose of celebrating our aquaculture and fisheries program. And we love to celebrate our aquaculture and fisheries program because we know that we have the best program in the nation. We've got a great thing going here at UAPB and Aquaculture and Fisheries, and we're happy to have it present under the leadership of Dr. Rebecca Lachman. Dr. Lachman is doing an exceptional job as the leader of this program. We are just moving forward and moving ahead, locked arms with the industry, doing great things for our communities and great things for the state of Arkansas. I love this opportunity today to gather because it is Mission Day. This is a day in which we demonstrate and exhibit our mission for this university. Our mission is teaching, research, service, and outreach and extension. And that research, that mission is grounded in the land grant mission that was given to this university back in 1890. And this university joined a group of other noted institutions who are providing access and opportunity to an education to those who didn't have it, but also providing agricultural extension work for the benefit of the citizens of the state of Arkansas. And we are very proud of the work that we're doing here. We're very proud of the work of our administrators, our faculty, staff, and students, and we're glad that all of us will have an opportunity today to experience some of it and to see the work that they're doing. They're doing such a fine work, and I thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to come and to share with us in it. That's my welcome. So welcome and have a great time. I have a dual purpose, though. I have the great privilege and honor of introducing the next person, who is a person who needs no introduction, for he represents this district in Congress, and he is no stranger to anybody on this campus because he has been to our campus on numerous occasions. He has worked in Congress on behalf of the 4th Congressional District of the state of Arkansas, and you all know him as, as Congressman Bruce Westerman. But I also would like to say that I enjoy the time that we spend together. I get a chance to go up to Washington a few times a year, and we always make it a point to stop by and see Congressman Westerman. And we have a good time there with he and his staff, and talking about things that are coming up and things that are in our future. But we also appreciate his attention to our campus and the fellowship and the attention that he's given us in coming down and visit us. And just in August, he was over with us at NCTR, talking and working with the officials there to bring stronger ties and a stronger relationship with the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and NCTR. So it is my great pleasure, and I did want to mention, I told him I was going to mention that I'm introducing one of the great former linebackers for the Razorbacks. Actually, he played linebacker in high school, but played free safety for the Razorbacks. So it's my great pleasure to bring forward Congressman Bruce Westerman.
It was starting to get deep in here. I thought I better grab the microphone, but and Dr. Alexander threw me off when he said he was going to introduce the next speaker, somebody who needed no introduction. I thought for sure he was talking about Dr. Cochran, and I was going to get to go after him, or have to go after him maybe. But it's always good to be here, especially on a day like this. These are the kind of days I long for when I'm stuck inside the buildings in Washington, D.C. And I can tell you that every time I come to the campus here, every time I'm around Dr. Alexander or others from the university, I'm impressed even more. I had high expectations coming here today because we've actually driven through here quickly on a tour before, but to get to have time to hear how everything works here and the research that's going on, the great work that Rebecca's doing and all of the students here, and then to get to meet alumni like, is it Chris? Is Chris here with the Game and Fish? A former alumni who's, I think he, if I understood right, second in charge at the Game and Fish Commission. We'll keep it that way if that's, but distinguished alumni. And I was just more impressed than the expectations that I even had here today. And another thing I noticed as I met students as we traveled around, I've yet to meet one from Arkansas. They were from Wisconsin, from Georgia, from Florida, from Texas. Do we have any Arkansas students here? Yeah, Jeremiah. He's from, it is Jeremiah, isn't it? Yeah, was showing us the fish locator out there. I've seen that used to track animals, but I've never seen one for fish. But an amazing program you have here, and I think that's a testament to it, that you have people from all over the country that come here to study aquaculture at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And this university excels in many other ways, and it's a real gem to have it here. And it's a great part of a community that I think is on the comeback, and that's part of what Dr. Alexander and I went over to NCTR about, to talk about how UAPB and NCTR could partner more to maybe provide more opportunities for students that are graduating from here in internships. And I know some good things are happening in Jefferson County and in Pine Bluff to try to get some things going downtown and to get more industry back in the area. And I've always said that this part of the state, particularly Pine Bluff, has a tremendous advantage over other parts of the state. If you look at it economically, you've got a strong university here. You've got a river here for shipping goods in and out. You've got a mainline railroad. You've got interstate highways. You've got resources. Just about every kind of resource we produce in Arkansas can be procured within driving distance of Jefferson County and within Jefferson County. So there are many, many positive things going for Jefferson County. I was pleased to, I guess I can still call you the new provost, Robert, maybe a year or so. And he said, you know, we're looking at maybe an engineering program here, an ag engineering program. Well, that's what I studied my undergraduate work in. That's why it was so fascinating to me to drive around and hear about how the aerators work, how you control the algae blooms and all the other great science and research that's taking place here. And I did not realize that the catfish is a hybrid between a blue catfish and a channel catfish. So I learned something even more new today. That is correct, isn't it? Did I get that right? All right. So do they have a split tail or a forked tail or a flat tail? Fork, okay. Yeah. Well, and I just wanted to give you a brief update on some things happening in Washington, D.C., some things that specifically affect the university here and affect agriculture in Arkansas. The big one is the Farm Bill. And I'm a conferee on the Farm Bill. Actually, Rick Crawford, who's on the Ag Committee, is a conferee. I'm a conferee, and Senator Bozeman, who's on the Senate Ag Committee, is a conferee. So half of Arkansas's delegation are conferees on the Farm Bill. And I can promise you the reason it's not our fault that we don't have a Farm Bill signed into law yet, because all three of us are working for a solution, and we want to see a good farm policy put into place. In that Farm Bill, there's some provisions in there. One of them is to allow HBCUs to carry over 20% of their federal funding from one year to the next. And there's also a grant program in there. I believe it's $19 million total, but Dr. Alexander, you said y'all would be maybe $1 million of scholarship grants that would come through that's in both the House bill and the Senate bill. And the 20% carryover is a provision in the House bill. So we're working hard trying to get that bill across the finish line. Actually, you can thank the United States Senate for me being able to be here today, because we were scheduled to be in D.C. this week voting and finishing up the Farm Bill, but there's something else going on over on the Senate side. You may have seen it on TV or read about it in the newspaper, but it's got them all wrapped around the axle on the Senate side. And we couldn't even get meetings with them to talk about the Farm Bill. So we came home this week so we could be in our districts. If something changes on the Farm Bill, we'll go back up to get that finalized and voted on, or otherwise we won't be back in D.C. until after the election, which you know, somebody who worked in private practice for 25 years before I got into Congress, it seems like we ought to be spending more time up there doing stuff, but we're 600 bills ahead of the Senate. We've passed 600 bills in the House that are sitting in the Senate waiting for action. So I'm not sure that putting another 50 or 60 bills in the Senate would do a lot of good right now. But we do work hard when we're here in the state. I'm going to embarrass him. J.D. McGee, Jason, raise your hand. Jason is my district director, works out of the Hot Springs office, and they keep me pretty busy with the schedule when I'm here. But if there's ever anything we can help with or help you with the federal government, be sure and contact me or contact J.D., and we'll be glad to help with that. But again, great job here. I had catfish for dinner last night with the Forestry Association. It was U.S. grown catfish. I always check that out. Even in the restaurants, I ask them, is this catfish produced in the USA? And they'll always tell you it is. I don't know if they really know or not. Had catfish last week with the catfish farmers were in D.C. and fed us catfish last week. Catfish for lunch today, and I could eat it for dinner tonight. I love catfish, and Appreciate the work that you do and the work that UAPB does, and what a great program you've got here. And I think it's, I'm not just saying this because it's in my district and I represent it, but everything I know about aquaculture, this is the best aquaculture program in the country, and you all should be commended for that. God bless you and have a great day.
Dr. Lachman asked me to introduce the luncheon speaker, Dr. Mark Cochran. Introducing Dr. Mark Cochran, everybody knows, right? You all know him, right? Okay, but still. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody.
Maybe I'll learn something.
My name is Manaharan Muthusamy. I'm the interim dean in the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce our distinguished luncheon speaker, Dr. Mark Cochran. Dr. Cochran was appointed as Vice President for Agriculture of the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture on January 4th, 2011. As Vice President, Dr. Cochran is responsible for leading the university's coordinated agriculture program, including the Cooperative Extension Service and the Agriculture Experiment Station. Prior to becoming the Vice President, Dr. Cochran served as Associate Vice President for Research and Director of the Arkansas Agriculture Experimental Station. Dr. Cochran came to Arkansas as an agricultural economist in 1982 after receiving his master's and PhD degrees from Michigan State University. He received his bachelor's degree from New Mexico State University. You see, he moved from hot place to cold place. Wow. I actually moved from cold place to hot place, not from the other way. He was the chair of UA Department of Agricultural Economics and Agribusiness from 1996 to 2006. Dr. Cochran's achievements are many. There are quite notable contributions. I can cite many, but I just want to mention one here. He led the interdisciplinary team that developed and implemented the cotton management system that has since been widely adopted throughout the Mid-South. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Mark Cochran, Vice President of Agriculture, University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture. Dr. Cochran.
Thank you, Dean. Well, I always learn something when my staff gives them the introductions there. So, well, it's a real pleasure to be here. And it's always great to celebrate how the two land-grant universities within the state of Arkansas work together off it. So it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I think that if you look at the land-grant university mission, that we have made lots of contributions in the past, and I will argue that the contributions that we're going to make in the future are going to be just as important as the ones that we've done in the last 150 years of our existence off of it. Before I get into my remarks, I do also want to have a call out to Congressman Westerman. He's always been a good supporter of us. It's a pleasure to share the podium with him. He's always engaged in activities like this, and I'll tell you that as I
speak with my colleagues across the country, we are very fortunate in the state of Arkansas that we have an entire delegation that appreciates agriculture, it appreciates our universities, and they take time out to come to meetings like this to show that appreciation. So thank you, Bruce. The other thing that I would like to start off with is a congratulations to the industry. I think that there's a lot of things that you're doing. First, let me just say that you're part of this engine that drives the economy of the state of Arkansas. By far the biggest industry within this state is broadly defined agriculture off of it. So if you look at the statewide off of it, we're contributing about $22 billion a year in gross state product. That doesn't even count the retail food sector, all the dollars that are spent in terms of grocery stores, restaurants, catering services, food service off of it. It accounts for about 1 out of every 5 or 6 jobs within the state. Now obviously the biggest industries that we have are poultry, forestry, and then our row crops. But aquaculture has a lot of reasons to be very proud of it. And I understand that we're #2 in terms of agricultural products and #1 in bait fish. And that's something that we've had some challenges with this industry, but I think it's very important that we continue on. So congratulations to the industry and the things that you're doing to work through here. Turn to the university, Chancellor, Provost, Dean, and Director. It's congratulations to the things that this center has done. I think this is a 30th anniversary, is that correct? And I think that when you look at the mission that they're having, they're dedicated to trying to address the current and the future needs of the industry and the management of our national fisheries within the state. Both of those are very important because not only do we like to eat catfish, not only do we benefit from the farms and the economic activities of our aquaculture industry, but we also like our natural resources, and probably a few of us have dropped the fishing line into our rivers as we've gone through things. The quality of the research and the extension programs, and when you talk about extension, let's not overlook the importance that we have within our land grant system of our diagnostic labs and the types of uses of the science and the expertise that we have to diagnose the problems, to certify that in this case that we have healthy fish that can be transported across state and international boundaries. But when there is a problem, we can identify what the nature of that problem is, do research so that we have new best practices to come in and address any things that come in. So it all fits together as a good continuum between the research, the extension, and the diagnostic labs. Then when you throw in the teaching mission, that one of the things that I always found when I was a faculty member years ago was I didn't really know what I knew until I had to sit down and teach it to somebody. And there was a lot of synergism between being involved in cutting-edge research and being able to help educate that next generation of scientists and managers and people that we need to have in it, as well as citizens. And I want to come back to the education of the citizens as we talk about the future of agriculture in the state that we have in here. When you look at the agenda that this center has had, and I encourage you, if you have not gone through the tent and looked at the poster sessions, take a few minutes and go by there and be impressed with the breadth and the depth of the research that's being conducted there. But if you look at the things that they're trying to do out of this Aquaculture and Fisheries Center here, the health, physiology, and stress management. That's important to us across the board, whether we're talking about plants or animals. That's a very, very big issue off of it. Economic and marketing. It's not enough for us just to be able to produce products. We've got to be able to sell them. We have to market them. And those changes in consumer demands are getting more of a challenge to us. If you look at the state of Arkansas, one of the things that we're really pleased about, and kudos to the congressman since he has some national responsibility for natural resources, and he's well aware of this. If you look at the land area here, we've got about 57% of the land area in our forests in this state. We've got another 41 or 42% that are in our farms. So broadly defined agriculture are really the stewards for the natural resources of the natural state. And you think about the things that we do, whether it's water quality or our land area or managing our wildlife, we've got some big responsibilities, and we have some things that we should be very proud about as to how we responsibly address that. Nutrition. There's a lot of discussion about sustainability, and you think about sustainability that usually you'll have three what we would call pillars off of it. We'd have a social component, we'd have an environmental component, and an economic component. In a lot of our industries, and if you look at sustainable agriculture across the board, or sustainable forestry, we do make advances in any of those areas, we have to become more efficient. And one of the things that's going to be very important in this industry is that nutrition and making sure that we get more product out of the feed that we put in as we go through that. That ties into the production technology, the pond management, and then some of the natural environments, because we want to make sure that we produce that we don't have any detrimental impacts on our land and water, and oftentimes now in growing our air resources of the natural state. One of the other things that I do want to point out to you is our challenges are becoming much greater, while the import of having solid science is becoming much more important as we move through here. We really are in a situation that if you look at addressing the world hunger problem and trying to feed the next generation as we're moving through here, we're going to have to greatly increase the food supply that we have, and particularly our protein sector. Probably having to double the protein sector as we go through this. If you look at the rate of increase in our productivity that's going through, and oftentimes that we will talk about being able to produce more with about the same area of land, but a lot less water, a lot less energy than before that we've ever had. Our rate of growth in that productivity is about half of what we think that we're going to need by the next 30 years. So this research component is extremely important to go through that. And so we greatly appreciate the federal investments in our programs. We're always trying the Chancellor and I get to be down at the state capitol and talk to the state and the investment and all of the high productivity that we have and what we get out of our state areas. But one of the other things that I want to talk to you about that's becoming more of a challenge. When I was a young man and was trained about the scientific process, we started off with a hypothesis, and they went through, conducted a scientific design, and went through a scientific process, got our results, and we got a conclusion, and then we based our beliefs off of the scientific conclusion. But in today's environment, in terms of our citizens and a lot of our policy, it's just the reverse. We start with a belief system, and we work through to try to filter science that's going to support the pre-existing belief and that's going to help persuade somebody else to have the same belief system that we have. And it's important that we stick to that solid science and those procedures that we work through with that, and that's really, really important. The last thing that I want to leave you with here is that we're seeing a shift in a lot of those belief systems that are driving it through. It used to be our consumers, when they made purchasing decisions about their food and shelter and, well, all of their issues with it, but particularly with food and our agricultural products, they were interested in price and affordability. They were interested in whether the food was safe. They was interested in the nutrition value of it. But a lot of our consumers now have added other components to it. They're very interested in where the food is produced, how it is produced, and in some cases, who produces it. And that's an extra component in there. It creates both challenges and opportunities. To the degree that they're willing to pay premiums for that, that offers some value-added opportunities that we have that we can try to get our marketing people to take advantage of, making sure that we have products to meet that consumer demand. When it's imposed upon without any premiums, it puts greater pressure on our cost structures and our efficiency that we need to move through that. We've got a lot of technology changes in it. If you're not paying attention to what's coming out of the blockchain and the information technology, that there's going to be a lot of information that will be shared, and we move that up and down the supply chain and be able to track and have that open, and deciding who's going to take advantage of that and make money on it, and who's going to have a change in their cost structure is going to be something that's very important. And that's probably something that both our legal and our policy environs are going to have to keep up with the technology change that we have off of that. So I'll leave you with that. That's a lot of things that I put on, but I do think that it's very important, and I'll leave with one last thought and a thing that we're very proud in terms of how the Division of Agriculture, UAPB, and the University of Arkansas Fayetteville are all working together, and I was pleased to see not only catfish, but some chicken there. And that leads me into that we've got a joint program in poultry science that we're getting graduates because we've got an industry that needs lots of scientists, lots of people that understand the industry, and having the two universities work together so that we can have some commonality in the degree programs and get a whole new set of students that would take some of those jobs in the poultry industry. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here as always, and appreciate being asked. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Have you ever looked at a program that you saw and realized that there was a minor mistake on it? I looked at this one and I said, wow, there is a minor mistake. We left off a wonderful and important person on this program, and that's Dr. Rebecca Lachman. She has put in so much hard work to make this day a success. But she doesn't know she has a part on the program yet, but I'm going to explain what she's going to do in a second. But prior to her completing her part, I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Chancellor said in terms of our extension and outreach faction that we have here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. We actually are very honored to have a group of students from Columbia here with us that have joined us for 2 weeks to learn about how some of our processes in the aquaculture program. And we've actually sent a team of professors, Dr. Kelley and Dr. Quintero, and also some students. Are they here? Yes. If you could stand and just get recognized. And they went to Columbia for 2 weeks earlier this summer. So with that said, we come to the point of the program where this is new, I understand. I asked a question of Dr. Manaharan earlier, and I said, Dr. Manaharan, I said, when the speaker speaks, what happens? And he said, well, nothing. I said, we need to give the speaker something for speaking. He said, but we've never done that in the past. I said, well, what we'll do is we will start a new tradition. And so today we're going to honor Dr. Cochran with a plaque. Now, all of the speakers that spoke previously that didn't get an honor, that means we can round you up for future fish field days. So don't feel left out. So at this time, I would like Dr. Lachman to present the plaque to Dr. Cochran.
You had me worried for a minute there. Dr. Cochran, we really, really appreciate your willingness to come speak with us today. I've enjoyed working with you in a number of different capacities, and I think, as you say, we have an excellent synergy between our program, U of A system, and the Division of Ag, and I'd like to see that continue and grow. So as a token of our appreciation, please accept this plaque.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so, and then with that, I was also asked to make a few remarks as the Center Director. As has been mentioned before, this is the 30th anniversary of the Aquaculture and Fisheries Center of Excellence. We've seen a lot of ups and downs. We're kind of on an upward trend right now, which I'm very happy to say. So those of you who have been to our field days before, I'm sure you noticed the couple of rough spots today. I noticed almost nothing but rough spots, but that's just my perspective. Actually, I think that people enjoyed themselves and had a good time and hopefully learned something. So really appreciate the support of our industry, our aquaculture industry, Arkansas Game and Fish. It's very gratifying to see our students, our former students, go into the field, their respective fields, and excel at what they do. We like to feel that we had a part in that, and then we can continue to work with them as colleagues, which again benefits everyone all the way around. So I really appreciate it. I'd like to recognize a former Center Director, Dr. Carol Engel is here today. And as you all know, she had a big part She had a big part in building this center, and we're just trying to continue and grow. We have taken on a number of new faculty, and we're pursuing some new research directions, and we'll probably tweak our academic programs a little bit as well. But again, we really, really appreciate your continued support and very glad to have you here today. Thank you.
It might be difficult to believe, but it takes a few people to get this station cleaned up and make it run. And this event takes a good bit of effort to get it to go as well as it has. So we're going to take a moment and try to acknowledge important people that are here, that have done a great deal of work and contributed to our event. First, we'll have a little bit of housekeeping reminders for folks. AQFI staff, if you can stick after for a minute to help clean up and put things back together, would be greatly appreciated. Also, we have meetings with the Catfish Farmers of Arkansas. Their board meeting begins at 1 p.m. in the Dean's Conference Room in the 1890 Extension building back up the road. You will have a shuttle service back to that location and then back to your vehicles afterwards if you need to go after that. This is a private meeting only for the Catfish Farmers of Arkansas board. Following that meeting at 2 p.m. is a public, if you wish to come, meeting of the Catfish Promotion Board, also meeting in the Dean's Conference Room in the 1890 Extension building. Shuttle services will be provided for both of those. Want to thank again our distinguished guests at the head table and out in the crowd, Dr. Mark Cochran, Congress Bruce Westerman, Chancellor Lawrence Alexander, Provost Dr. Robert Carr, Dean Dr. Mathuzami Manaharan, and also another shout out to our guests from Huila, Colombia for coming and attending this week, and we wish them safe travels on their trip back home this weekend. These students have been doing all kinds of activities, not only in Pine Bluff, but also around the state, and even to Stoneville, Mississippi, visiting farms, research facilities, and trying to get a little bit of the feel of what it's like to live in Arkansas, and it seems like everybody involved has had a wonderful time, and they've been wonderful guests, so thank you all for coming. This event is not free. You didn't pay anything to come here, but somebody did. So we need to recognize the organizations, the businesses that helped make this event what it was. So bear with me, you're gonna hear it. Delta Western, Warm Water Pond Management, Syngenta, Lanza, Sindel, B&L Mitchell, T&K Construction, United Phosphorus, Arkansas Farm Bureau, Herring Catfish, Reliance Bank, Earth Science Laboratories, Craighead Electric Company, Co-op, and CPRO. And also a huge shout out to our caterers, King Cat, for the wonderful meal. And last but definitely not least, the UAPB AQFI research station staff that keep this station operating and get this place cleaned up. It literally is a week-long process to get a facility of this size in shape for a meeting like this, and we want to recognize all the staff with a round of applause for the job that they have done to get this ready. So with that, we will conclude the 2018 AQFI Field Day. Reminder, Catfish Farmers of Arkansas board meeting begins at 1 p.m. in the Dean's Conference Room in the 1890 Extension building. You will have shuttle services to that venue, followed at 2 p.m. by the Catfish Promotion Board meeting, also in the Dean's Conference Room. That one is public. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you for making another great event, and we will see you all next time.